Hello everyone, this is one in a series of videos I'm doing on features in the Infinity Fleet system. Today we'll be talking about Centerline Analysis, how to perform it, how to set up a centerline, and any problems you might run into doing it. Now if you look here, you can see that I've got a torque box set up already. I'm using a left side rail torque box. You can use any torque box to do centerline analysis. You could set up a right side rail torque box, or you could set up a standard torque box with two targets on either rail. But what we're going to be doing now is using this side rail torque box. If you don't know how to set up a side rail torque box, I suggest you watch my video on Setup a System with a side rail torque box. If you do know how to set one up, then we can go ahead and get started. Now as you see here, we've got these 4 targets set up here. Now 4 targets in a torque box will not allow you to do centerline analysis. But one helpful thing that we can do is do centerline just to verify that we have a good torque box and that it's not going to throw off our centerline due to any damage in the torque box. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is go up there and click Centerline Analysis. And now you see the centerline shows up and you can see the green dots there along the centerline. What those represent is the midpoint between 2 targets. These targets are obviously taking the width of the frame into account and dividing the distance between the 2 targets and then determining that green dot. And it's green. It can also be yellow and red, but it's green because we don't have any damage. And if you look down in our measurement boxes here, you'll see that our center line is 0. So that just verifies our torque box. We can go ahead and shut off centerline analysis now. What I'm going to go ahead and show you is another way that you can verify that you have a good centerline and that your torque box is performing correctly. What we can go ahead and do is put a single target on the opposite end of the frame. You see that gray dot walking over there? That's a target that I've just placed at the far front of the frame. Now once that settles into place, we can go ahead and get started. We're going to need to hit refresh frame adjusted, and that'll add that point onto our frame here. Those measurements look weird because we don't have our adapters set correctly. So we'll go back to the target screen, and now you see that we've got a dual magnet adapter here with the adapter for the stem sticking out to the side. Now I've actually got my stem connector set to the bottom, so we're going to go ahead and set that to dual bottom. Then we'll go ahead and go back to our measurement screen and hit refresh frame adjusted. Okay, and now you see we've got an actual measurement there that looks a little more realistic. And what we can see now by hitting centerline analysis is the difference between our centerline based on our torque box and this target and 0. So if you look at our centerline analysis right now, we've got 2 millimeters difference there. That's pretty minimal. That's why we've got that green dot there on our centerline, dead in the center of the 0 point there. So we know that we've got a good centerline, that our torque box is performing correctly, and we can go ahead and measure an actual centerline point at that location. So what we're going to go ahead and do is flip another target. We'll go ahead and put another target on there, and you'll see a gray dot pop up. You see that moving over there, and that's walking into position. Again, once it's in position, we're going to have to hit that refresh button in order to bring up the measurements for that target. We'll just wait here. Okay, looks like we're about settled in at this point, so we can go ahead and go back up and hit that refresh button. All right, no measurements pop up for that target. Again, the adapter for that target is not the correct adapter, so we're going to have to go back to the target placement tab. We'll have to click on that target and change it to a dual bottom. Always make sure my adapters are set up the same way, but because you can select them, you can always put them on however you want and then specify that later. Now that we're back in the measurement screen, we'll hit refresh. All right, and now there we go. Now you see that we've got that more realistic measurement in there. And we've got about the same center line. Now what you're seeing is the point in the exact middle between those 2 parallel targets. Looks like we have about 3 difference there. That's why it's still green and it's sitting right on that blue 0 line. what I'm going to do is move this out a little bit so you can see what damage would actually look like. So I'm actually mimicking what damage would look like in the system right now by moving the adapter away from the frame. So as I do that, you'll see those measurements start to pull out a little bit, and you can see now we're in the yellow, and that dot turns yellow, and it'll keep on moving out here, and we'll get, let's try to get up into the tens, then you'll see that dot and the measurement turn red. And that's what it'll look like when your center line is off significantly. So you can see now that yellow dot has just moved a slight bit towards that damaged target. And now I'm going to go ahead and push that target back in. This is what it'll look like anytime you repair damage to a frame while using Centerline, is that that'll slowly walk back into place and give you those better centerline numbers. And you can just kind of watch the dots and watch those numbers and watch the targets themselves and see those colors come in line with what you're looking for. So we've got our frame basically completely repaired. You can always set up any number of targets along the rails to measure any points on the frame. The more targets you put on, the more centerline points you'll get, the better idea you'll get of any differences in your frame. But putting targets on the front or back of your frame and then putting the torque box opposite of it will give you a complete view of the frame and of your center line. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something.